And he consistently told us as fellow sergeant majors at the time that he was going to, go on the deployment. You could, as I remember him saying, you can count on us. And at the same time, having backroom conversations with other people, other entities inside the Minnesota National Guard to ensure that he could retire. He subverted the chain of command. He went around the chain of command. The brigade sergeant major had no clue. These are all important facts, and he did it to continually feather his own bed. That was the shameful part of it.
Well, and he's done it repeatedly over and over again to bolster his attacks on the Second Amendment. That was Command Sergeant Major Paul Hare who came forward. And Colin Rugg got this. He was on Fox News this morning, and he was, kind of explaining this is where the rub comes in. I want to play this quick soundbite here, also just for more context. We played it last hour, but this is what we're talking about. He constantly says, and this is not the only video. He constantly says, "Yes, I was in war, and I know what weapons of war are, and I was in combat." Listen to this. This is what he says. There's tons of this stuff.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, "Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this." I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army, and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
There's so much of this video and audio of him saying, "Yes, I know." He's trading on the claim that he saw combat as a way to undermine Second Amendment rights. And I think also he's trying to inflate himself to, for flyover. Joining us on this issue, and he's got, I've been reading his tweets on this. They've been very good. As you can imagine, our very good friend Kurt Schlichter, whose latest book, The Attack, is out. You should go and get it. The link is on his bio for X or anywhere else. Kurt Schlichter on X, author, political columnist, commentator, trial lawyer extraordinaire, retired colonel as well. Good to see you, sir. I love your background. You always are in the sunniest, best places. I love your office. But I wanted to kind of get your response to this because the cover up sometimes is worse than the crime, and they keep going, "Oh, well, he misspoke on this." I mean, that one audio clip that we just played, and there's tons of it out there, that doesn't sound like misspeaking to me.
No, it's not. Look, the only good thing I can say about Walz is at least he's not a hypocrite, because guys that went to war to defend our Constitution, he's attacking our Constitution, Second Amendment, but he didn't go to defend it. So at least he's not being a complete hypocrite. He is a scumbag, though. I wrote that in town hall today. You just look at this guy and you just know who he is. If you've been in the military, you know who he is. And from the officer perspective, he looks like every NCO who ever screwed over an officer by not supporting him and not doing his job. To the great NCOs out there, and the NCOs are the backbone of the Army. He looks like the guy who makes them look bad, the weasel, the dude who, sneaks around the chain of command and finds the easy assignment instead of the tough one. And a junior enlisted, he looks like the guy who really enjoyed being sergeant major and doesn't take care of the troops, doesn't act as their advocate, doesn't stand up to the general and says, "Sir, you are wrong. You are screwing over our soldiers and you need to stop," which is what a command sergeant major, which this guy is not, although he held the position in the rank temporarily. That's what a command sergeant major does. And I got to tell you, Dana, I talked to a lot of vets. We have our, I have my little colonel group. I talk to my, I talk to NCOs. I talk to guys who did one tour, and it's pretty much unanimous, except for those vote vet turds. This guy is a disaster. I mean, the only place he'd be fit to be a command sergeant major is, in Colonel Vindman's battalion. Ooh. But of course, Colonel Vindman never got a battalion because he was a slug.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I wanted to point out, Kurt's got a great column about this in Town Hall. He says, and this right here, this is the sting. He goes, he writes, "You just know that Walz being in the Army checked a box for her." And Kurt, you're talking about Kamala Harris here. DEI hacks love checking boxes. And she didn't look any deeper than that. And no one around her did either. That's it.
She thought, you dumb rubes, you're going to see a couple pictures of him strutting about in his very clean uniform. The uniform I saw him, it was remarkably clean, even though it was set up for the field. And hey, look, the uniforms are supposed to be clean. He's a sergeant major, but I just think, she doesn't have any military people around her to tell her what's up. This is an example of what you were pointing out with him being like, oh, I've hunted. I was in a war. I'll tell you what guns you can and can't have. Hey, dude, just because you qualified marksman once doesn't make you an expert. And it certainly doesn't make you my boss or the arbiter of my God-given rights.
And that's the point.
Yeah. And it's like, no, we're not doing this. I think it was a terrible and cowardly pick. I think the obvious pick was Josh Shapiro, a guy who I don't agree with, but I think he is a competent politician. And he would have brought in made a very important state competitive.
Yeah.
And she didn't do it because he was Jewish and because she knew he would overshadow her.
Is that where the Democrat Party is now? They actually were looking, talking with our friend Kurt Schlichter. Josh Shapiro being Jewish was more baggage to them than Tim Walz and his DUI and lying about his service and the list.
Tells you a lot about the tells you a lot about the Democrats and a lot about Kamala Harris. I mean, she was in a tough position. She's got to find someone who's not capable of overshadowing her. And there aren't a lot of people like that. Okay. That's tough. She's got to go looking. She's got to be turned over some rocks, but she did turn over the Minnesota rock. I mean, look, if you got to nail down Mogadishu North for a Democrat, you're having trouble.
Whew.
Okay. Minnesota's not if you really got to nail down Minnesota, I think, I think Walz is going to, I think she's going to stick with Walz because A, she can't admit failure. She can't pull an Eagleton like McGovern did. She can't substitute out someone else. I mean, holy cow.
And that's the thing. Do you think, is he going to last through the convention? Because it seems like people are freaking out about it. And the Democrats are mad because they're getting mad at everyone who's pointing out his lies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're very mad. I've been, among other things, I've had people go, what, like you were in the Army? A little bit. But the thing is, she won't do. First of all, she knows she has a sense there's something going on. But do you think she's listening to any source other than MSNBC, which is talking about, how Walz is this great dad? I think, you and I and Chris and Arena have gotten together before. I may have told you the story. When I deployed with my unit for 16 months, my girl was 6 months old. And she stayed with a Cuban family while I was gone for well over a year. And I got back, she was well over a year old. And when I got back, unlike, the super dad who stayed in Minnesota, when I got home, my daughter called me Tio, which is uncle in Spanish.
Oh.
It would have been nice to have been called dad. But I didn't get that, till later because I was out defending my country and my family. It's okay. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just showing you that there's a cost and that if you lack character, you're going to give up your integrity to do it. If he had a solid record, I would be unhappy about it because, that shows a lot of character and I want him to lose the election. But he has not shown character and we're going to call him out. He's a disgrace to vets. I refuse to have him be the representative in the American people's minds of the amazing people I served with. I still can't believe they let me lead troops. I don't know what the hell I was doing there because
I'm glad they did.
I was surrounded by heroes. And I mean, I had literal heroes. I had people who were wounded. I had people who had been written about in books. I even had a commander who married that gangsters of Triskelion chick in the bikini.
Oh.
Angelique Pettyjohn. And he was just amazing. I mean, these guys are legends, even if no one's ever heard of them outside their units. And That's important. And I feel like it's letting down the guys who went before and the guys who are serving now and gals. If we don't stand up and say, this guy's wrong, he does not represent us.
Yeah. We're talking with our good friend, Kurt Schlichter. Do you think this is this, who does this have an impact with? I think, I tend to think elections, it's determined in the margins. And I hate to say it, but, Democrats are the party that, they lionized a guy who literally let a woman drown in a pond. Is this going to hurt the moderates and independents that they're trying to, is this going to affect their view of this? Because the diehard Democrats, are they actually going to regret this decision because of this?
There are about 900,000 veterans in Pennsylvania. The election was decided by 80,000 people. 90% of vets are going to look at this guy and go, no, just can't. They are going to look at him and have a real problem. This is something serious. And this is, very organic. This was veterans in action. I know JD made some comments about it yesterday, but it's not like, how sometimes people, when you're an influencer, sometimes people go, hey, can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? I didn't need that. I was talking about it long before anybody else started. Not saying I started, I was spontaneously, other people popped up. You know how people spontaneously organize. You were a big Tea Party person. And you know how Americans will jump into it and create a movement. And there's a movement here. I put up a tweet of me, just standing there essentially doing nothing, which is what I did in the war. I wasn't Audie Murphy either, okay, but I admit it. I ran a heavily armed car wash in Desert Storm. But I showed up, right. And I put a picture of me, and I said, hey, here's a picture of me not being Tim Walz. Put up your own picture. And my gosh, just looking through it.
Everywhere.
It was like
viral.
a walk down memory lane. It did. It was millions of impressions. And I'm just loving looking at the pictures because it's just reminding me of the great people I served with, the great people who are still out there, and just this legacy of heroism and service. And, I got to stand up and be heard. And I think the veterans are going to stand up and be heard.
Agreed. And I think, and you're right with this. This has been going on for a long time. Like there's a video coming back from like 06, 07, 08, 09, where people have been criticizing him over stuff. And so this has been happening for a while. Last question for you, our very good friend, Kurt Schlichter, and you can find him on X at Kurt Schlichter. So is this, can Tim Walz salvage this, or is it too late for him? What does he do?
Well, look, I don't know if he'll be able to salvage it effect-wise, but he'll be able to salvage it in the mind of him and Kamala Harris, because he's surrounded by people telling him it's no problem. We're just going to get in there and, talk about what transphobes all these vets are. They're all racist. They're racist against you, Tim. And they will believe it. One of the weaknesses of our enemies is the fact they never have to get to know us. We have to know our opponents intimately. Which is, of course, a military thing. You want to know the enemy better than the enemy knows himself. Right. Well, in fact, we do. They don't know us. They don't feel like they need to. That's how you get, well, he went hunting once. Show a picture of him with a duck and a dog. And then all the rubes will love him. That's not how this works. But, I don't particularly want to give them any coaching. Right. But they're going to be in their echo chamber and think this is great. Like I say in my piece in Town Hall this morning, what you don't know can hurt you.
Yeah. That's true. And this is a great piece. Folks need to read it. And I'm going to make sure we send it out in the newsletter as well, the link to it. Our very good friend, Kurt Schlichter. Kurt, we appreciate your service. We appreciate your advocacy. And God love you. I was reading through your thread on that, like all the people that were responding. There were thousands. It was amazing to read all of that and see all of these images. I mean, it just makes you so proud of your country and the people you share it with.
Well, look, I served with great people. I didn't do anything important.
You always say that. You always say that. You're all like, I just ran a heavily armed car wash. You know what, though? But you didn't know. You didn't know that you weren't doing it. You didn't know. Anything could have happened. Well, look, and you signed up for that. And you went and you showed up.
Well, if Walz had shown up and just said, hey, man, I got sent to Italy for a while and I did my thing, everybody go, oh, okay. Somebody's got to go to Italy and somebody's got to go kill bin Laden.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody's got to wash trucks. In any case, looking forward to seeing you in Christmas.
Yes, I know. We look forward to it. He's going to be in Dallas, him and his lovely wife. Give Irina the best from us, and we look forward to talking with you again. Thank you.